Thank you, Your Honor. We're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. We have additions to the agenda. We have 12.1, Sturgeon County presentation update, and 16.3, staffing update in closed session under Section 20 of the Access to Information Act and Section 28. Could I get a motion that we accept the agenda as amended? I believe.
Sorry, Your Honor, those motions are already made and on the books as
Okay.
being made. If you want to just continue on with finance, 7.1, thank you.
Thank you. 7.1, accounts paid as of February 6, 2026. Anybody got any questions in regards to that? Council Morrison?
Just a point for transparency and clarity. If anyone noted that there was a 1-month bloom payment made in the previous accounts paid for the month of January, and then note again in this one that there is an accounts paid for January 1st to 15th. It should be noted that the original payment was reversed, and this is in fact the payment. Next question that I have, potentially more of a statement, and Ryan, I apologize for not getting them to you sooner. The Heartland Common paving for 78-ish K, that's just an old residual from September, if my time frame is okay. Hi.
Yes, that's correct.
And the, can I keep going?
Yes.
Matrix Group, it was just under 800, indicating November council audit, 25 council audit. I'm assuming that was their presentation to us in same time frame. Great. It's expensive for an hour. The and you did the others? Oh, do you want me to?
Yeah, just.
So there were a number of different engineering payments that went out. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my line. Go ahead if you have it handy.
Yeah, there's 3 entries in regards to the reservoir upgrade from 3 different consultants.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that was work that had been started on the reservoir upgrade project before we had canceled, or not necessarily canceled, but postponed it.
Okay, thank you.
And again, the idea was that, or the understanding that these were probably no doubt all old. So thank you very much, and I apologize for not getting questions to you sooner. That's it for me.
Okay. Anyone else? Can I get a motion to accept the accounts paid as information?
I'll move that we accept accounts paid as information.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So carried. 7.2, Alberta Community Partnership and Local Government Fiscal Framework Grants.
Through Mr. Mayor, and to council and to the public, one of the things that's very important in the situation that we're in is when we first started to uncover the challenge that we had, council gave us direction to reach out to the province and ask them for support in numerous ways. The province did reach out to council, had a meeting with the minister, and then began a dialogue with us as the administration team in terms of opportunities. This is essentially a good news story. Certainly not as good news as we'd want, but it's a good start. And essentially what the province has now provided us with is a $500,000 grant that was initially proposed to help support the costs of our team being here and other associated costs. We have since negotiated with the province, and I say that they've been very gracious in their willingness to open up the flexibility of that grant. So we can now use that for salaries, utilities, fuel, basically essential services only, but it is providing essential support for the town. So it essentially gives us monies that that would take us at least to the end of April. And again, if I'm incorrect in my assumption on cash flow, Ryan would speak to that. But that's a beginning. Second to this, we are still in discussions with Municipal Affairs on other opportunities. They've been very clear with us that there are challenges from a financial perspective with the province as well. But they have offered basically, again, these haven't been approved yet. They still have to go through the provincial budget process. But they have offered a deferral of basically the education payments, deferral of all of our policing payments for 2026, and possible deferral of all of our debenture payments. And these deferrals are significant and would certainly help the town with basically developing a bit of a longer runway for us to develop solutions over time. The one thing that's very important to note about this, however, is that these are deferrals. They're not necessarily deletions of these costs, which would mean essentially we would eventually have to make these payments. But that does provide us with an opportunity, but no additional cash flow. The one thing that they have offered, and we have some work to do on this, is they've also offered the LGFF capital grant, which is $560,000, and I believe it's due to us, I believe in May. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. June? Okay, due was in June. They have offered for us to do a review of our past capital projects, and if we can find capital projects that have actually been paid for by operating costs, and we suspect that there are, they would allow us to apply the past projects to the current grant and then free up that $560,000 for additional operating funds. And so with that opportunity, that would provide us enough cash flow to, again, get to June. So we are starting to, again, get a longer runway that allows us for more analysis, more opportunity, and for us to deliver additional solutions. And so in essence, the province has provided us in essence with $500,000 with the potential another $560,000 of actual cash, plus well over $1 million in deferrals of payments over the next year. And so though not a perfect scenario, and we still have a lot of work to do, it was a very good start and a very gracious opportunity that the province, in my opinion, has provided us to start developing solutions over time. We're still in the negotiations, we're still in discussions, and we will continue that. But again, we want to bring this forward for council's review and council's input, and also to make sure the public were aware that the province has provided us with some opportunities to solve the issues.
Excellent, thanks. And I concur, it's pleasant news, but we'd hoped for a bit more, but we're getting there a little bit at a time. Do we have any questions for Tim in regards to this? Seeing none, can I get a motion that council accepts this update as information? Councilor Curry?
I'll put the motion to that ocean.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So carried. 10.1, new business, service adjustment and reduction discussion.
Through Mr. Mayor, the purpose of this report is to begin a dialogue with council. One of the things that's very important to note is that administration has the authority to cut costs for, again, efficiencies, to maybe look at opportunities where maybe actuals have not been in alignment with past budgetary items and those types of things. But we do not have the authority to change service levels without council direction. And that is a very important component of basically council leadership. We are in a very, very dire situation from a financial perspective. We recognize that. And though we have completed layoffs and we're looking at additional possible staffing adjustments, for us to basically complete the budget process, which has begun, and Ryan's done a lot of work already on basically what we call a base budget, we're now at the point that we have to have an open dialogue with you as council. And again, we want to make this as transparent as we could, as possible as we could, to start having discussions around service levels and what council would consider what are the highest priority services, what are some of the maybe sacred cows that you do not want us to touch, but also maybe what are the opportunities that you would be okay with us taking a look at. And so tonight is not intended to be an in-depth discussion of service levels or a policy discussion, but it is intended to be a fair kind of look at what the situation is and kind of get a feel for council's thoughts on service level reductions as we move forward. We have put together a list of potential service level reductions. We have met with the leadership team. We've talked about our service inventory. We've talked about what types of things that we could do to possibly possibly reduce costs to get us to a balanced budget. And we've put a few bullets on here just for discussion items. And I'll admit, we know that this is going to be a difficult conversation. We know that for the public, this is going to be a difficult conversation, and I can't stress enough that this is also a difficult conversation for the staff. Again, we're not here to harm people or make people feel uncomfortable, but we are in a very difficult situation financially, and we do have to make some hard decisions. And so with that, we've identified some potential service adjustments for discussion. We are planning some strategic planning workshops with you that will tie into the budget process, but I was hoping that we could get an initial dialogue on some of the items that we've identified to get a feel for where you are from a service level reduction perspective, and then give us some direction in terms of how you would like us to proceed.
Questions? Comments?
Are we just opening up the floor to discuss all these points here? Is that kind of what?
Yep, I think the plan tonight was to open the floor up with the points that we have here. That'll also give administration a bit of a feel for how much deeper we can go with additional points. But we thought these were kind of the ones that would probably be worthy of discussion at this time. So yes, we would just like to open up the floor to get a feel for what council thinks in terms of these recommendations.
Councillor Barak?
I don't see anywheres on here with the youth group or my.
I think the youth group information would fall under review of family and community support services and recreation programs. So we didn't dive deep into a lot of detail in certain programs, but certainly it'd be something that would be up for discussion if council wishes to go there.
My personal opinion is we don't touch that one at all. I think that as we dive into the depths of issues that the town's having, let's say the arena is closed at certain times. My personal belief is that once you start taking youth organization and then closing doors on them, I think that's where we potentially have more issues. We only have one employee for the youth group, and I think that's a very valuable resource for the town. I definitely wouldn't be behind eliminating that one.
Did you guys put together a list of what services are provided under the community support and recreation programs?
Through Mr. Mayor, again, as I mentioned, we are putting together those lists now. Ryan has worked on the financial aspects of the budget, and we're ready with the base budget for review. And we've now met with the leadership team and are developing what we call a detailed service inventory. We did complete a service inventory, but again, it was kind of more high level, but we're currently working on that now. And again, tonight was more just kind of, an initial discussion with council to kind of get a feel for how you felt about the items that we put on here, and also to alert the public that we are going to be looking at service levels, and we're going to try and do this in the most transparent way that we can, again, in accordance with council direction.
Councillor St. Germain?
So under FCSS, would that also include the food bank?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have identified the food bank as a must keep. So there is going to be no effect on the food bank. We recognize the challenges that would provide for people within the town, and we've talked internally already about measures to make sure the food bank stays open at all costs.
Thank you. Can I ask another question? Some of these, I think it would be easier to decide if we could see the cost savings. If we're cutting things, if it's only going to save us $5-10, is that where we're going to cut if it's really important to people? And I guess the surveys would have a bearing as well.
Through Mr. Mayor, I think the one thing that's very important about each of these is that I wouldn't have put them down if the costs associated with these weren't substantial. or would make an impact. And so what we did, again, just begin the dialogue to get a feel. And again, I can understand that, we'd like to have a lot more detail and costs associated with it, but again, there's only so much we can do with a short amount of time. This is, again, intended just to have that high-level discussion so that we can get an understanding of how you feel about service level reductions overall. Maybe not even looking at specifics on this page. And again, making sure that the public are alerted that we're beginning this process.
Yeah, and I think it's a very good place as a starting aspect of it for sure. Going down the list itself, there's some questions that I think as we get into them deeper that we may be able to iron out and move forward with the possibility of cutting some in areas and not in some areas, right? Councillor Curry?
Yeah, I want to echo what Councillor Burak said about the youth center. I'm willing to have deeper conversations about anything and everything on here, just to see, where we can trim the fat, But as far as the youth center goes, yeah, that's one thing that is probably number one on my priority list. And I say that as someone involved with the Broncos and seeing the arena on here. The youth center is something that you would have to shoot me and drag me out of here. And then just going down the list here, closure of the town gym. I know a lot of people probably that doesn't matter, and that's something that, compared to the youth center or something like that, but, that's personal for me. But that's something that, yeah, we can definitely, and then the arena, it's no secret I'm involved in hockey, Broncos, whatever. I would say there's probably a lot of things to look at there as far as hours that it's open, and things that go on there that could probably be cut. I would suggest maybe sometime spring, once locals are done with it, Spurs, Broncos, whatever, that would be a time to maybe really look at closing down for a time or whatever. But I'd like to have all those costs and everything in front of me so we can make these decisions.
If just respond, I think maybe I wasn't clear, and I realize I probably need to be a little bit more clear. One of the things that's going to occur, and what's normal in our basically in municipal government, is we have what's called basically an interim budget, and then we have a final budget. And what we had asked council to pass, because we weren't prepared and we just came into this only 8-9 weeks ago, is council had actually passed an interim budget, was basically the 2025 budget is basically been passed as the 2026 budget. But the way the process works is that we have to be able to pass a tax rate bylaw in April, which means that normally a budget process will begin often with council in around this time, February, March, and then end of April, there'll be a review process. Ryan and I are meeting on Thursday to go over the budget and then develop basically a timeline that we'll have to ask council to meet with us, which would be considered the budget process. We'll be looking at full meetings where we'll be going over the detailed costs, detailed service packages, looking at potential service level reductions, and it's a fairly intense process. And it's one that both Ryan and I have completed many times with many municipalities. So again, maybe to be more clear, this is just basically a beginning dialogue, but what you'll see at the next council meetings is a budget timeline with budget dates that we're going to request time with you to have workshops and whatnot so that we can go over these things in more detail and make the right decisions. And so I apologize if I wasn't clear about the process. This is just a beginning dialogue so we can get a feel for how to basically build the budget process going forward.
Thanks for the clarification there, Mr. Duhamel. Any further questions in regards to it? Councillor Smonowitz?
I think some of these items lack some information behind it. I know we're going to drill down. For example, reduction of bylaw enforcement services. Last 4 years, I've been trying to get an answer to how many hours a week we get of bylaw, and I've had every different answer in the book. But I've never heard anything higher than 25 hours a week. There's a lot more hours in a week, you know, for that, so, I don't know, I'm reluctant there to, because if we don't have bylaw enforcement, you know, kind of thing, that's one issue. So I don't know how many hours we have, what the cost is, what are we gonna reduce it to? Gonna reduce it down to 10 hours a week, might as well not have it personally. Public Works, crack sealing, happens every year. I think it's a fairly expensive item. I've seen some bills on that. Does it do anything? Does it preserve our roads? We don't seal the cracks. Do they fall apart? I've had the same road in front of my house for almost 50 years. It's held up, but, you know, like most of the cracks, maybe half, are filled because a lot of the residents don't move their vehicle. So then when they come and repair the cracks, they can't get into the crack because there's a vehicle parked there. So anyways, you know, it's some of those kinds of things. What, closer to the town gym, for a long, long time, you know, the town gym was sold to us as the town put a lot of money into the gym in regards to equipment, and then they were gonna go get a private contractor to run the gym, which it seemed that never happened. All of a sudden, at one council meeting, it came up that they're all employees of the town. So again, what's the cost, right? Are we making any money? I'm not saying we have to make money on the gym, but maybe break even? Are we losing a lot? What are we subsidizing it by? So anyways, I have a lot of questions around these.
Councilor Morrison?
I think this is a great start as far as a list is concerned. I have complete confidence that we'll be provided with tremendous detail and costing of all of the items, be it FCCS, closing the gym, what is the revenue for the gym, what is the cost for the gym, what are our average seasonal costs with regard to public works, so on and so forth, so that we can make educated decisions at that time. I think it's a great start and one that we don't have a choice for. So merely a statement.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
let's move forward a little bit so people can hear me. Councillor Simonovitz, through Mayor Henderson to you for your question about the bylaw hours. Just before we came in, I checked the agreement, and it is at 28 hours per week, just for everyone's information.
And that number is correct.
And in case my fellow council members weren't aware, the gym is that way.
Thanks for that, Travis. Any further questions? Can I get a motion that council accepts the initiation of service adjustment reduction discussion report as information and provide a high-level direction to administration regarding potential service adjustment and reduction for consideration as part of the 2026 budget and long-term financial recovery plan?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Before we have a vote, any further questions? All those in favor? So carried. 12.1, Sturgeon presentation update.
Through Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to provide a quick update, again, to make sure the public are aware. We did make a presentation this morning, yourself and myself with all of council in attendance, on basically the financial situation. It was very similar to the town hall information that we provided. We provided a full understanding of the financial situation that the town is in to the county council. We also provided them with basically the legislative situation. We've provided them with the 10 strategies that we've been working on diligently to overcome this situation that the town is in. And probably, I won't say most importantly, but certainly very important, we provided them with the legislative pass that we've been basically provided with by the province, which is basically a viability review process and conversely a process where we have asked for the potential of transfer of fire services, transfer of FCS services, and potentially the review of a cost or revenue share type of a situation. I will say this, I've been doing this for a long time. I very rarely ever get nervous before a presentation anymore, but I felt a pang of nervousness this morning because of the challenge that we had and the audience that we had this morning. I will say to council and to the public, I felt personally that it was very well received and that the county council, though they asked us a lot of difficult and hard questions, I felt the questions were fair. And I felt that their thoughts were actually, very well thought out and reasonable. And I believe we went to that meeting with a attitude of collaboration and an attitude of working out solutions together. And I believe as we left, though there's going to be certainly difficult challenges and discussions as we move forward, I believe that they were on side with that as well. So I just wanted to make sure that we made our public aware that we're working now with the county council and open up any discussion or thoughts that you may have had or observations on the discussion this morning.
Yeah, I have to say, in that one, I myself, I guess I went in with some expectation. I didn't think it would be quite as well received as what it was. And it's clear that they were appreciative of the transparency aspect of us giving them the full gamut as opposed to hearsay exactly where we are and what we're doing and what's going on. And I think they're appreciative of that as well. And hopefully we can continue moving forward in that collaborative nature. I felt pretty good when we left it. It seemed to go better than anticipated, to be honest with you. I was concerned, but it went better than anticipated. Anyone else? Any comments or questions on it? No? Could I get a motion that we accept that presentation as information? Councillor St. Germain?
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor? So carried. Thanks for that, Tim. 14.1, correspondence from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, expedited viability review.
Excuse me, Your Honor, you missed committee reports on 13,
Oh, I
please.
did too, yes. Committee reports. Let's start with Councillor Curry.
So on the Aero Utilities meeting I attended on January 30th, I'm on the board, the committee planning board. We had a meeting, 1 hour meeting in the morning, and that was just to basically go over the agenda for a course we have in May, last week of May, second last week of May. And then we had an actual board meeting with orientation for the whole day. And we just went over basically, we voted on some restructuring, refinancing for train number 4, basically an expansion to the facility out at Aero Utilities. Because currently where they're at, they're full, they can't handle anymore. So they needed to expand, so we basically voted on approved and proceeded with borrowing through the province of Alberta at 20 years to support rate stability and to minimize risk and avoid any fluctuations to interest costs and market conditions. So we voted on that and did the orientation, and that was about it. Exciting, I know.
Thank you. Don't forget to turn your mic off. Councillor Brack?
February 3rd, we had the library board meeting where we welcomed a new board member, as well as we discussed the challenges of the upcoming, I guess the overall financial status of the town on what we're going to be able to do to keep that going. February 9th, we had a strat plan meeting, and then February 10th, we did the presentation to Sturgeon County that we did this morning.
Councillor Simonowitz?
On January 30th, I attended with a couple of my colleagues here the Heartland Municipal Orientation Day. We had a full day presentation of what's going on in the Heartland, different companies, what they're doing, and then we went on a tour and visited all the plants, where most of them and when you see them from the highway, you just see a bunch of pipes and smokestacks, but once you get right in there, it's like, wow, it's kind of like overwhelming. So it was very, very interesting and informative. On February 9th, I attended the strategic planning session with Council. On February 10th, today, we attended the Sturgeon County presentation by Tim. And just on a side note, I think it's come out, I'm sorry if you went out and bought 500 bottles of bottled water to store in your house because you maybe anticipated an emergency. They've been drilling hydrovacing the last 2 days, and they cannot find the leak. So, that's now the second time they've detected a leak there in 4 years, but still can't find anything. So that's good news, but something's going on, and it's kind of interesting because the way they deal with the water pipes is they put the thing in there that's called a ball. It looks like a ball, but it's a very fancy instrument, and it goes down the pipes and it reads the walls and what's going on in the walls and that kind of thing. So again, very interesting technology. So I guess for the time being, we're off the hook, but we still kind of don't know why 2 readings in 4 years, but there's no leak, so that's good news. Thank you.
Councillor Saint Germain.
I attended the town hall, February 9th. We did strategic planning. And this morning I attended the Sturgeon County Council meeting, which I really appreciate that they were receiving us so well and they asked fabulous questions.
Councillor Longstaff.
None of the 4 committees I sit on actually met within the last 2 weeks, but I did attend the town hall on January the 29th, and it was really good to see a lot of the residents and airing their concerns. And along with the rest of council, I attended the strategic planning yesterday and the Sturgeon County Council presentation this morning, which I was also expecting a lot worse of a reaction than we got, so I was actually very impressed by that.
Thank you. Councillor Morrison.
On the 30th of January, I attended the Industrial Heartland Municipal Orientation and tour of the actual Industrial Heartland, which I will also concur blew my mind. I'm not going to lie. As an accountant, my takeaway was in 2025, $185 million in tax revenue out of the Industrial Heartland to the adjoining municipalities. So it was that was fun. It was a great tour, honestly. For somebody who's not a science geek, I ate up all of the science that they shared with us that day. It was pretty fascinating. On the 4th of February, I attended the Alberta Council webinar, When Economic Development Ambition Outruns Municipal Capacity. I don't know, it just felt like it resonated. Fascinating, actually, webinar. Spent a lot of time talking about removing barriers to housing development and, ridding red tape in land use bylaws. And also a lot of town talk in trying to keep towns feeling like small towns when they're still actively developing. Then I'm gonna see. I knew that was gonna happen. I think it was the 6th then. Enter. Yeah, sorry, on the 6th of February, the Alberta Munis webinar on corporate governance for towns. Fantastic conversation with regard to Alberta Munis and their advocating to the province for increased funding, specifically for FCCS, in the fact that the funding model that the province gives for FCCS has not increased with the capacity and with the increased population. So it was an absolutely dynamic conversation. And further to that was the new policing model and what Alberta Munis is doing to advocate for communities. with regard to that as well. Attended the strategic planning session last night and as well the council meeting for Sturgeon County today. Thank you.
Did you have time to eat?
And I have a full-time job.
Yeah, myself on the 30th, I joined my colleagues here on the tour, the Heartland Tour. I don't know if there's any people here from Shell Scottsford, but they were very gracious to us and took us for a great tour in there. And I knew it was big. I had no idea how big it was because they were telling us it's the size of downtown Calgary is how big it is. It's huge. Yeah, it was an eye opener for sure. Again, you see it from the road and you don't really get a concept for it. And just the amount of work that goes on, and we drove,
no people
and we
in
didn't see any. We saw very few people, but they yeah, exactly. That's what he said to us for sure. Yeah, it was.
It was sort of like spotting Where's Waldo.
Yeah. Yeah, strat plan meeting on February the 9th, and then our presentation to Sturgeon County this morning. And that is it. Do I need a motion to accept? Can I get a motion to accept that as information? Councillor Smonowitz?
I move to accept the presentations as information.
All those in favor? So carried. 14.1, correspondence from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, expedited viability review.
Through Mr. Mayor, as you again are aware, we're in a difficult financial situation, and one of the key things that we determined at the very outset of the challenge was that there were a few paths that were required. Council had advised us very early again in the process to ask municipal affairs for three key things: funding support, a viability review, and a forensic audit and an investigation. Thus far, we have, as mentioned earlier, we have gotten word back on the funding, and now we have word back on the viability review. The province has agreed to an expedited viability review. I will say this, we've had conversations with them over the past couple of weeks, and the key component of this is that they have offered to complete this viability review within 3 months. This is normally an 18-month process, and it's one that actually has quite some detailed analysis. They have shared with us that the one thing that they are going to do to fast track this process is not do the deep analysis of basically our infrastructure. Because of that town's financial situation, they've recognized that there's no time to do that. So they're proposing an expedited viability review of 3 months. I will state this, we've had conversations with them, and I've stated that that timing is not necessarily coinciding with the work that we're trying to do with Sturgeon County. And so they have offered to look at a possible 5 to 6 month timeline on the viability review, which would tie into pre-summer holiday season, because again, what's most important to the viability review is the input from the public. And so what they're worried about is that if we go too far into the summer time, we'll actually end up in holiday season, which would not allow certain residents to basically come and voice their concerns and basically vote on the viability if that's where we get to. So they're offering, again, an expedited viability review to be done in approximately 5 months. And again, but this is still open for discussion. I will say this, in discussions with the province, they have offered a meeting with yourselves and the minister. They are trying to coincide that, I believe, with the budget process, the provincial budget process being completed. And they've told us, I believe, and Jody, correct me if I'm wrong, they've said that they believe that that meeting would happen as early as next week. They have instructed us to give you direction, or not direction, but to ask you to ensure that when you have that meeting with the minister, that you request that the viability review be extended from the 3 month period to at least the 5 to 6 month period to, again, provide us with time to roll out the strategies that we're trying to employ. Is there anything I've missed in this, Jody? Okay. So again, I think very important that we bring this forward so that the public are aware that the viability review is occurring. And again, I think I'll just leave or provide one last piece of information. This does not mean that we are moving towards dissolve. It means that the review is occurring, and in parallel with that review, and again, the work that we started this morning with Sturgeon County is looking at alternatives and what those solutions could be, and working with our regional partner. we're working on a budget. We're working on a cutback budget. We're looking at possible intermunicipal agreements for possible revenue or cost sharing. Not sure how that will go, but again, two things are moving in congruence with each other. The one thing it's very important to note, and the reason why we asked for an expedited viability review, is if our negotiations and our budgetary solutions don't work, then we're essentially out of cash probably within 4 to 6 months. And for that reason, we would have to have the viability review that would allow for the town to dissolve. Any questions?
Any questions? Your mic's on there, Mr. Curry.
How do you?
Just touch it. There you go. Anybody, any questions or comments in regards to that? I think on your note here, maybe it may help the citizens that are here that, and during the process of the viability review, when you talk about their need to vote, basically, there's two options. One, we remain as a town, and which would require the development and implementation of a financial recovery plan, or a vote for dissolution to hamlet status within the Sturgeon County. So two options should it go to that state.
And if I may, just to add to that, I think again for the public's view, the municipal affairs did commit to doing a lot of work in their expediting and putting a lot of resources on this to make sure that the viability review is still fair and thorough. So the only thing that they said that they're probably going to miss that they would normally do is the infrastructure review. But they did say that the rest of the viability review, according to their typical process, will be completed. Governance, finance, decision making, other opportunities for again the town to get into a better place financially. So I believe that there will be sufficient information for the public to make a decision, but it's going to be a lot of work on their side and ours.
Yes, absolutely. And I just wonder if it might be possible. I noticed on the letter that we got from the minister, there was a website link to one of their pages that discuss the viability review and actually has the ones that are currently going on right now. If we might be able to get that, take that snapshot out of the letter that he sent us and maybe post it somewhere so that the public, if they want to go in there and take a look at it, they can.
They did mention they have, I think, 5 others going on right
Yeah,
now.
correct,
I did
yeah.
ask them to make sure that they consider us to be the favorite, but all kidding aside, it is a lot of work, and they did ask us for the assessment roll that we got to them on Monday, and that basically is addresses, so that every resident will get a letter from Municipal Affairs,
Okay.
I believe, over the next week or two, explaining the process, and so they're planning on being very transparent about the process as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the link will be in there then for sure. Okay, thanks. Councillor Barek?
After the viability report is done, will there be, if it does end up that it's dissolution or dissolving, will we have kind of an idea of what service, like what it would actually look like before the citizens would have their vote, so to speak?
Through Mr. Mayor, one of the things, and again, this was a very welcomed introduction, is the CEO of Sturgeon County introduced me to an individual that they have identified as being fully focused on the development of what this is going to look like. If it rolls out and the situation is dissolved. I've reached out to her already, and we've discussed about maybe having a kickoff meeting together to start putting our heads together as to what this would look like, and then working in collaboration with the province to make sure that the residents of Gibbons and Sturgeon County have a very strong idea of what this would entail and look like if they decide to dissolve or stay as a town. So we are committed to getting that information together, but as again I stated, this is usually an 18-month process, and we're going to try and finish it in 3 to 4 months, which has never been done before. So we are committed to the information, but again, we have to figure out what that's going to look like from a resource perspective.
I just want to make sure that the citizens would have all the information before they would vote, they'd be putting their voice forward.
Through Mr. Mayor, again, if at any time any members of council feel that the information that the province is providing through their viability review, because we're not in control of it, is not sufficient, I think that you have an opportunity to voice your concerns in relationship to that.
And we may have an opportunity to ask those questions when we do have a meeting with them as well, right? So that we can probably do some legwork in that regard as well. Any further questions or comments? Councillor St. Germain?
Just for clarity, so are we doing the viability review because essentially we don't have enough cash to run the 18 months? Is that why it's expedited?
Through Mr. Mayor and Council, one of the things, again, before we received the $500,000 grant, we had cash sufficient till the end of February. With the $500,000 grant, we now have cash sufficient to, again, the end of April. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong with any of this. And then with the 560, we have cash at the end of June. And so that coincides basically, and again, that's why we asked for the extension on the viability review. They were coinciding it with basically our end date on cash. I can't stress enough, unlike most viability situations where it's a catastrophic loss of an industry assessment or possibly an infrastructure failure or concerns from that perspective, our issue is a cash issue. And as soon as we run out of cash, essentially, we can no longer pay salaries, can't put fuel into the trucks, and we can't pay our electrical bills. That means that we have to essentially end services. We don't want that to happen, and it's not an option. So the viability review was coinciding with our cash issue.
Any further, Councillor Schoenbrink, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, they're not doing the infrastructure deep dive. Could you tell me what that entails? I just don't understand.
So one of the key things about municipalities is that, again, I always state this in my classes, that municipalities essentially deliver services through two things. It's through people, staff, and through capital assets. So roads, water, sewer infrastructure, vehicles, buildings, recreation, Zambonis, wherever it might be. And what we typically have is we have long-term asset management plans, and those are tied to, again, best, useful life and depreciation, all those types of things. There's usually a deep assessment of those assets and basically what the useful life and where it stands. And if the municipality has gotten into a situation of what we call an infrastructure deficit, basically we don't have debt capacity or grant capacity to maintain and replenish our assets in a meaningful way, then the infrastructure deficit is basically becomes a situation where the municipality is considered unviable. In most cases, viability reviews or what really turns the tide on a viability review is the infrastructure deficit. In our case, we don't even have basically an opportunity to pay for the infrastructure. If we had a water line break, if we had a roof failure, if we had even the Zamboni breakdown, we don't have money sufficient to cover that off. And so I think the infrastructure, and I kind of agree with them on this one a bit, is that the infrastructure deep dive should be done at some point for sure. But is it really tied to this viability review? Because of our unique situation, it's probably not the key thing that would turn the tide in terms of a vote of the public. But it should be done. There's no doubt.
Thank you for explaining that.
Any further questions? Okay, I need a motion that council accept the minister's confirmation of support for the town's request regarding police funding and Alberta school funding payment as information. Councillor Longstaff.
Do you want me to just make the motion or repeat everything you just said? All right, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got any questions in regards to that one? All those in favor? So carried. And need a motion that council receive this report as information, and further to that, council endorse continued collaboration between administration, municipal affairs, and Sturgeon County throughout the expedited viability review process with regular updates to be provided to council. Councilor Curry,
I'll make that motion.
anybody have any questions on that one? All those in favor? So carried. And I believe we're headed into closed session, but I'll call a recess for 7 minutes.
I think I would say to all, thank you so much for coming out and
Call the meeting back to order. Could I get a motion that we move to closed session for legal matters, Access Information Act, Section 28, 29, 30, and 32, and review of development issues, Access Information Act, Section 19, 26, and 28, and a staffing update under Sections 20 and 28. So I need a motion to move to closed session.
I'll make the motion to move to closed session.
All those in favor? So carried. Okay, can I get a motion, that council's direction on administration's recommendation positions regarding both matters in regards to 16.1?
I'll make that motion.
If we could actually separate that into two, because it was two motions, two matters.
Okay,
So if we could have a motion on the first legal matter and then the second legal matter,
Okay.
please?
yep. Darren?
Do you need some help with that? You're going to direct administration to proceed in accordance with the direction provided by council during the closed session on the first legal matter. Do you want me to try that again? Okay. Council moved that, Council Longstaff, let's just use your name, move that council direct administration to proceed in accordance with the direction provided by council during closed session with respect to the first legal matter discussed.
Yeah, I move it in those words.
Thank you.
All those in favor? So carried? So Darren, do you want to do the second one virtually the same? So moved?
Yeah, I move that we direct administration in accordance with the discussion with the second legal matter.
All those in favor?
Close.
So carried? Can I get a motion that council direct administration to proceed with a third-party review as discussed in closed session?
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor? So carried? And adjourn at 21:27.
You still have a motion for 16.3?
Oh, yes, I guess so. Can we get a motion, can I get a motion that we accept the staffing update as information?
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor? So carried. Adjourn 21:27.